You know, it happens to just about everyone out there. There comes a time when maybe you can't live in your house anymore. For whatever reason, you're going to have to make a big move, whether it's to a memory care or an assisted living. It happens to many people. And the problem or the challenge is, what do we do? Who do we call? Where do we go? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you want to know more about this, just stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. My guest today is Jack Stewart from Assisted Living Locators. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Andrea. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure to have you with us today because this is a topic that many people, it's the inevitable thing that we have to face. So I'm glad we're talking about it. But before we start, Jack, kindly just introduce yourself a little bit more than I did and tell everyone what is your role at Assisted Living Locators.
Sure. My name is Jack Stewart. I own Assisted Living Locators. I own 90% of Monmouth County, Ocean, and Burlington. We are a free service to seniors when they find out that they will need some sort of care moving forward. It could be home care, memory care, assisted living, independent living, or services that are provided by the county or volunteer services as well. Somewhat of a conduit to the proper
Right.
service for the senior, and we educate them. We go through an in-depth needs to assess, what does the family need? What are their financial wherewithal and what are the care needs, geography, everything. And we walk through that with the family in person. I have a nurse who does assessments and another staff member who's just wonderful. So we spend all that time with the folks in person and we hold them hand in hand all the way through. And we provide all kinds of transition support.
I guess, the point here is that most of us simply don't know what to do on our own and we need help.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line because there's many options out there. So, for example, what are some of the options that people need to be aware of?
Well, they have a choice, first of all, and they need to I always encourage people to stay off the internet because only because they'll fill out a form and their information will get shot out to all the communities and the communities will start contacting them
Yeah.
directly. Ultimately, I've had some folks have to change their phone numbers at 80 years old because they get spammed. So why do I bring that up? Because whether you work with me or anyone, you want someone to advocate for you in person. You want someone to completely understand your situation. So when people call me, they don't know what to do. Either it's an emergency or they're wanting to do research. So we break it down. First, you have to think about, what is it that we want? What does the family want? What does everyone's well-being moving forward look like? And we help educate and empower our clients to make those decisions so there's no dissonance after the final decision is made.
Do you
And we
find
offer, oh, go ahead, please.
do you find that there are people who actually come to you knowing this is what I want because I've done a little bit of my own homework? Or are
Uh,
most people just, I don't know what to do?
it's a mix. I get all kinds of folks from people just that are trying to find Medicaid and get into long-term care. We do a lot of that work for the county, um, all the way to folks that have done partial research. They went on the internet. Now they're getting all this stuff. So they call me, can you make it stop? And I do my best with that. And then I have a lot of people, they'll call me and they've just seen two or three. So they think that's it out there. And I tell them, no, you have to really see the value and the buildings because they are all different. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, no, it does. It does. Obviously at SCAN, we are famous for our lunch and learns. And I will always say this. One of the reasons we do this, and one of the reasons that, we invite folks like you to host tables there is because we want people to know what their or who their resources are. And I agree with you that unfortunately for most people, they don't even think about this until it hits them directly.
Correct.
And
But that's
now we have an
okay.
emergency.
But
Yeah.
we can do our job quickly.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Andrea, I wanted to say there are so many resources out there before someone can call me, but they don't know about them. And then when they call me, they say, "I wish I would have known about it 3 years ago with my father." So anyway, those resources out there, they're out there, and through Scan, we are able to get access to, the seniors, and they learn about us, but that is a venue that is not typical. So Scan is a wonderful program. Um, I was going to say real quick, you guys work with the Monmouth County Department of Aging. I do too. And I always recommend that my clients call them just so they can hear the different things that the county can do for them. And they can talk to them about their veteran, options and help coach them. If they call the Department of Aging and they say, I don't know what to do, I need care, they send them to me. So I help them, be their resource for families that don't know what to do in this exact situation. There's also all kinds of services that they provide, supportive services. I actually have a list here. They have the disability service program, aging services. They have a caregiver program, veteran services. So all of that is free and available at the Monmouth County Department of Aging. Uh, Before you even get going, they can help direct you. There's other volunteer organizations such as Caregiver Volunteers of Central New Jersey. You can find out more about these because I could go on and on. Andrea will put my phone number up at the end
Yes.
of the talk, and please call me. I can expand on these. I wish we had a couple hours to really dig in here.
And cover everything. But yes, for everyone out there, I will have all of Jack's contact info in the show notes. In fact, I will put a link to caregiver volunteers and I'll also put a link to Monmouth County Office on Aging because you're right, Jack. Those are some excellent first, take your first crack at those resources. What do you find that for folks who are in need of your services, what is the clue that we can't do this anymore? We have to make a change, whether it's for you personally or for a loved one. What are the clues that lets them know?
Well, usually when they come to me, it's usually a situation where a family member has been a caregiver for a while. So in that situation, it's pretty straightforward. But many times they start to see, like I have one client, she saw her husband's pinky twitch. That was it. That was it. That's all she saw. She took him to the doctor. He has Parkinson's. So they come and so they are having me do research. So when the onset comes, they know the landscape. Um, so uh, what focused me, Andrea? I'm getting off on
Well,
a tangent. I have so much.
first of all, let me say if somebody was that observant to notice that in a pinky, that's very
Isn't
remarkable
it? It
powers of
is.
observation. Good for I applaud that.
I do too. Yeah, knowing your mate that well, go ahead, please.
To see when something's wrong. I get to refocus is well, what are some clues that it's time for the next phase, and we need to find that.
Well, one obvious one is you're in the hospital or a rehab and you need a safe place to discharge. That's usually sometimes, we deal with that a lot, quick discharges. But usually it's forgetfulness or they have like med management needs or active daily living, help on activities like putting on their shirt or their pants, or maybe perhaps, they need help getting up and out of bed or
Hmm.
something like that, transitioning to a wheelchair or a walker. Maybe they just want to go live in a community and, have the beautiful services that the communities have. You know, chefs, they clean your room. They're wonderful places. They're like cruise ships. But at any rate,
So it's not necessarily that something is wrong with you. It might just be that I don't want the big house. I don't want the stairs. I don't want the vacuum cleaner. I'm just
yeah,
ready to live more easily.
that's a great point, Andrea, because it's called aging in place. And what they want to do, a lot of my clients, they'll want to go to a place that's independent living through memory care. And so that's aging in place. Sometimes they just want to go to assisted living. But if they need help with their ADLs and they need help with medication or any kind of care, then that would be an indication that they need assisted living. People live in assisted living and they still have their cars. So there's all kinds of arrangements and different situations, and all the communities are so different.
That's a good point because I think when my observation is when people hear assisted living, well, assisted, that word assisted, but as you just alluded to, you could have a car. So there are levels of assisted living. Explain when you tell someone about assisted living, what does that mean exactly?
What it means is you are now living with some level of care,
But you're independent, really.
but you can be independent. That's correct. So it could be they live in assisted living and they know that their health is kind of going down and they have their car until that happens. They age in place. They don't mind living there. The services could vary. It just varies. It really does on what they could need. Some people just flat out go to assisted living. But there's certain communities that offer different, you know, living situations. Like some communities have independent living through memory care, and you pay monthly there. So if you don't like it, 30-day, 60-day notice, you're out of there. A lot of independent livings to age in place through memory care require a huge upfront payment,
Right.
which if you don't like it, well, you can move out, but you're not going to get refunded for a while just because of the way it works and the way the investments and all that works. So I always encourage people to do the monthly or do what's called a respite, which where they can go in for 30 days. I have two communities right now I'm working with, and their respite is 250 a day. So $250 a day. I think that's seven up in the 7,000-ish range. Forgive me, I forgot the exact math. That's great to go check out a community and you get to see if you want to be there. You'll actually live there for 30 days. I'm doing that with a couple clients now in an independent living community, and they'll let them come in under the guise of AL, assisted living. A lot of times they won't do respite, independent living. Yeah, but anyway, I go ahead. They
That
have different
idea.
levels of care,
I think
Andrea.
I think that's a great idea because how can you know it's going to be right for you? Unless, first of all, you have to see the place. I mean, I agree. I certainly understand that. But living there for 30 days, you can learn a lot about this is good for me, this is not good for me.
Yes, and sometimes they'll just go spend the afternoon or have a meal with their family. But I want to circle back to your question about what are we looking at when we go into assisted living? What does that mean exactly? How does that look? You have basically your rent, rack rate, if you will, just like you're going to rent an apartment.
Okay.
And that costs, let's just say it's $5,000. And then you'll have your care levels. So many times, and med management. So many times, let's just say care levels are $1,200 a level, and they go up $1,200. So anywhere from 3 to 5 levels of care. Some communities will go very high levels of care. So, and some don't. And when I say care, I mean, darn near bedbound,
Hmm.
but can make their needs known. They're not on a respirator. in that territory where you're trying to figure out, is this skilled nursing or not. A lot of the communities are going higher now in those care levels. But you start with med management, go all the way up to that full level of care. So you can age in place. They do an assessment when you move in, and that assessment dictates what your care levels are going to be.
Makes
Your rack
sense.
rate's going to be what it is. We
Hmm.
help get you the best situation, possible, but that's the care levels, Andrea, that they have. And then that kind of makes your cost vary over the years. As your care level goes up, your cost is going to go up. The only rack rate is like an apartment. It goes up 3 to 6% a year, just like any other lease that you would have. Am I on track, Andrea, for
Yes,
you?
yes, understood, understood. But I'm realizing just listening to you that there must be, excuse me, there must be so many options out there that I think it would be pretty difficult for most of us to know what direction to go in and, where to get started.
Education is everything, and empowering, and helping our seniors understand, what's out there. And my big thing when I take folks into a building, I always tell them, we'll look around. I coach them. I say, here's what you want to look at. Here's the questions you want to ask. But the most important thing is when you walk out of that building, take a deep breath and think about how you feel. Because a lot of people will just run to their car. So that really helps my clients. And then they can reflect on, okay, well, I felt good. I felt questions. I felt no dissonance there. The other place I just skipped out and was just happy as can be. So I tell them, please pay attention to those things, because this is going to be the rest of your life. This is your new home. So yeah, they're all different, and there's so many options out there. And not to take away from the buildings, not to take away from their marketers, but when you go into a building, it's their job. They want you to move in their community, and they
Right, of
do their
course.
job very well, and they're very proud, and they should be. However, I feel like a lot of times that when a person goes into something like that, they almost think that's their only option. I don't know why folks think that, but once they get into that conversation, they're like, okay, well, this is it. I don't want to look around. This is too much work. Well, we've already done that. So I feel like information, knowing about the different communities, the different arrangements, the different
Right.
value is through the roof on the different buildings, as and you go down to Ocean and it drops about $1,500 a month in general, maybe more. So there's just so much out there to know. And so it can be very overwhelming for folks. So
Well,
I always encourage knowing your options. I'm not
yes.
taking away from any of the buildings, because a lot of the folks we work with there are our trusted partner.
But because there are so many options, I can see where it'd be very difficult to know it's really about what's best for me. Not
Yeah,
it's great that they're all wonderful, but where am I going to be the happiest? And again, I'm going to remind everybody that this is a huge choice in life. This big move is a big deal, and you don't have to do it alone. There are folks like Jack out there, and again, all his contact info is in the show notes, and I would encourage you, to call him for a consultation, because that's the whole point. We often need help to make this huge choice. We could never possibly know everything that's out there. That's why we're going to talk to you.
that's wonderful. And I'll just remind everyone, I'm a free service.
Yes,
So
yes,
you can call me before you get on the internet. And if you don't like me, then you can get on the internet. But that's not going to happen. But don't fill any forms out. Don't fill anything out like that, because you're going to get a lot of information back through your
yes.
email.
And
And
it's not necessarily the least bit useful at all.
it's
Yeah,
overwhelming at best,
yeah,
because everyone feels like they're drinking from a fire hose when they call me, and it's my job to stop that.
right. Right. Exactly.
Yes. And
Exactly.
we are calm. We go about our business. We have this. We've already, it brings it down for the family because everyone is on edge. It's a new day. All of a sudden, all of this happened. The doctors, and it's just incredibly overwhelming. So they need someone to advocate for them in a calm way and in a way that they're saying, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel here. I thought this was the end of the world. And
Yeah.
that's the most gratifying thing of my job is to see the look on the face once we get everything worked out. And they're like, I had no idea that we could arrange this quality of life for my loved one and for me.
Yeah, because it's quality of life for your loved one, which by the way could be you. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it does give your family peace of mind. And again, I'm encouraging everyone if you feel that this could be something that's coming your way in near or down the road, this is the time to look into this is now, not when it's an emergency, which is unfortunately what most people do. So
Yeah.
if you want to know more, I would definitely encourage you to just give Jack a call. He's an excellent resource, and I know he'll be happy to help anyone who needs his help.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
thank you to Scan for providing such a great platform for the seniors as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So we've been speaking with Jack Stewart from Assisted Living Locators. All his contact info is in the show notes. And Jack, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure.
Remember out there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr. We'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone, and bye, Jack.
Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.